Okay, Doc, you're on.
Recently, my doctor switched from using Test Sip 200 megs once weekly to having me use Troches of Test 30 milligrams 2 times a day. My question is, what's more effective, and should I ask to get my injection back instead of Troches?
That's a good question.
This is, well, this one's an easy one as far as I'm concerned. We definitely want to use an injectable over an oral, simply because you're making your liver do more work if it passes through the GI. You're going to get metabolites of testosterone formed before the, or as part of the first pass, we call it. If you inject intramuscularly, that testosterone can circulate before it passes through the portal vein, the liver, and gets then starts to get broken down and metabolized into things that we may or may not want, obviously. So that one's, man, I mean, this is a short one. I don't know what the rationale would be for using a troche, anything oral over an injectable. This question comes up with people who are a little bit averse to using an injectable over, say, a cream, which again, is comparable in the sense that it bypasses that first pass of the liver deal with an oral. But the problem with whether it's oral or transdermal, aside from the liver, is that there's a reason why you have to take them every day, because your testosterone levels are going up and down. This is not a time-release form of testosterone like cypionate is. An ester of testosterone, the beauty of it is you only have to inject yourself once a week. And yes, you have a little bit of a zenith and a nadir. Going back to the SAT study courses, right? A top and a bottom level, right? But I always liken it to those top and bottoms being sort of like a 3-foot wave on a 20-foot wall of water for a guy. In other words, you're not going to notice those. So enjoy the convenience of the once-a-week dosing, and also enjoy the clinical benefit of having your levels be high for the entire week and never dropping down to 200 nanograms per deciliter total test before you do your next application to cream or another troche, and then bring you back up again. You're going up and down during the day, and I realize again, in many ways, that's Mother Nature's way of doing it. But I'm not going to say it again about what's normal and natural, but you get my point. I mean, Mother Nature, at least as far as we have the audacity, if you will, to think about it, is not necessarily always, right according to our perspective. People definitely, clinically, in all seriousness, say that the injectable is so much better in terms of results, and also obviously a lot less of a pain in the neck, whether it's an application daily of a cream or a pill. You don't have to remember to do it, but for once a week.
Yeah, very good, very good. Thank you, Doc.
First off, I appreciate the time and effort in making these Ask the Doc videos. It's our pleasure, right, Dave?
That's right.
It's difficult enough to find a doctor that specializes in this topic of hormones and has the real world knowledge of what goes on behind doors in the bodybuilding sports scene. I'm not even going to say the next part because I'll blush. In your previous video, Dr. McLean answered the question of high BP, and the option of donating blood was mentioned. Donating blood frequently comes up in my bodybuilding circles. As a TRT patient, I have no problems, but what about high dosages of non-testosterone steroids? Oh, okay, NOR9s, DHTs, orals, etc. And can blood be donated even while using an aromatase inhibitor on your steroid cycle? Well, certainly you can donate blood whenever you want. The purpose of donating blood, well, it can be for, like he suggests, if the blood's too thick, it might raise your BP, certainly, and it's certainly not a good idea in the long haul to have thicker, more viscous blood because of its effect on the left ventricle of the heart, and also supposedly an increased risk of stroke. And I don't want to poo-poo that. It's just I've seen people come in with very high levels of hemoglobin and hematocrit. I have one patient who unfortunately has polycythemia rubra vera, and I've seen him come in with a hemoglobin of 26. And of course, hematocrit's roughly 3 times that, so whatever that math comes up with. I mean, crazy numbers, and he's still alive. He's not happy about having to donate blood, but most of the people I see suffering side effects of blood that's too viscous will come in complaining when the hemoglobin's 19, and I'm just using hemoglobin because, again, hematocrit's 3 times that, but typically, but really it's the hematocrit that's more of an issue. And the symptoms are usually dizziness. One of the classics is, even when it's not that high, is you'll be sitting there and you'll take I call it a heavy sigh. You'll take a deep breath for no reason. Also, postprandial narcosis, and it's kind of counterintuitive because you'd say, well, you've got all this extra hemoglobin that carries oxygen. Why would you have, food coma more so after you eat if you have all that extra hemoglobin? Wouldn't that cover for the displacement of the oxygen that occurs when the triglycerides build up and you go into food coma? But it's just that, yeah, but no matter what, the triglycerides are going to knock them all off, and people just tend to have more of an extreme reaction, so feel like, wow, my food coma is way worse now with more viscous blood. But in regards to specifically this gentleman's question, there's no restriction on donating blood just because you happen to be taking an aromatase inhibitor. I think that's his question. And this would be more a matter of donating to the American Red Cross. We have rules. You can't donate blood. They don't want it, and it's for good reason. So I don't even try and sneak it by. I'm not sure that they test for finasteride. I would think they do, but they ask you not to donate if you're taking finasteride. If they give it to a female who's pregnant, it can cause really bad side effects to the fetus, teratogenic side effects they call it, meaning you'll get really bad mutations. So that we have that rule here, but you can do a therapeutic phlebotomy. You're not donating the blood, you're just getting rid of it if you need to. Again, this gentleman doesn't have a problem, according to him, with elevated hemoglobin hematocrit, but there are no issues also about with donating blood, whether you're taking nandrolone or DHT, or whether it's oral or injectable. Yeah, and he is referring to donating. So the donation restrictions would really apply to whatever group is accepting the donations and what they're using it for. But I again, other than the finasteride issue, and of course in this country, they say if you've been to the UK in the last X number of months, they're worried about the prions that might have been acquired from eating, some contaminated beef and all that sort of thing. So each place and for each time period, there are different rules in place. But these specifically, at least in this country, I am not aware of any of those being a restriction on your donating blood. And again, certainly, if your levels of hemoglobin hematocrit are too high, you don't have to donate. You can just get rid of it if you need to, and that's not an issue.
Good. Thanks, Doc. Thank you, Doc.